What's going on, everybody? Making this video today on how to change the disc brakes. The vehicle today is a Toyota. It's a 2006 Toyota RAV4. And so we're going to remove the tire. The tire is going to require a 21 millimeter socket. Impact wrench really helps. And then so once we remove our tire, we're going to set that aside. And now we're going to grab a ratchet, and we're going to have a 14 millimeter. And then this is the caliper right here, this piece right here. Okay, now there is this also additional frame piece that stays in place. This is what holds the brakes. This is what squeezes the brakes. And I'll show you a little bit more how that works in just a second. So there's two bolts to remove. There's one up here on the top, right here, and then there's another one right here. Two bolts, you have to crack them loose. So take your wrench and then smack it once with your hand on the end, and simply crack those bolts loose. And we're going to unratchet both of these bolts. Some people use an impact wrench. That's fine, but do bear in mind, the older the car is, let me see if I get it by hand. Yeah, I get it by hand. Do bear in mind though, the older the car is, the more prone to bolt snapping due to rust. Especially if you live in snowy conditions areas such as me. So now we took our two bolts off, and now we're going to remove this caliper by simply giving it some wiggles. It's kind of really hard to do this one-handed, I'm not gonna lie. If you ever try to do something one-handed, it's coming. It just takes some wiggling. And like I said, I'm only one-handed, so we're going to very gently, do not break this line right here that you see. This is the brake line. Do not do any damage to that. We're going to very gently let it dangle. Some people will place it on top of here. You can do that, but if it falls and it rolls, it will yank on this cable. So I let it very gently let go and let it dangle, and it will be just fine. Okay, so now we have our rotor, which is here in the middle, and on each side is a brake pad. So now we're going to take a flat-headed screwdriver, or a regular screwdriver, as some call it, and we're going to place it in between the brake pad and the rotor, if they do not want to come out gently and easily by themselves. As you can see, this thing is just falling apart. We have these clips on the top and bottom. We're going to be very gently not to damage these. If you damage or break these clips, you're going to need new ones, just saying. So be very, very careful in this process. And go top and the bottom, and it just pops off. Same thing for the other side now. Go ahead and get it in the middle. My rotors are about due for a changing, so before anybody starts lighting me up in the comment section, trust me, I already know. When your rotors are looking like this is an uneven contact point with your rotor and the brake pad. Your rotor should not look like this. There's potential that I have a bad caliper as well. I have to do some more investigating, but due to the fact that I'm running short for time, I have to pick somebody up, so I don't have time to play with everything right now. But as you see, I can give you a demonstration now how this works. Your car's in motion, and this is how your brakes work. So each side has these brake pads, and basically they're going to squeeze on this piece of metal right here. And when they squeeze, your car comes to this halt, stop. So the more you press, the harder your car's going to stop. But you can see I have my brake pads right here. This one has some uneven wear. You can see it's unevenly worn from top to bottom. And then on the other side is almost brand new brake pad. But you do not keep these. You always change these out in the series. You never want to just keep one because it looks good. So in our box, we have our new brake pads. Ta-da! And you can see the difference of one of those compared to See, here's the good one and the old one. The one I thought was pretty good. You can see that one's still worn out. So this one here is definitely worn out. You can tell the difference. You can see this material right here. This material right here is the actual braking pad. And then this last piece right here, this is just the metal frame that holds it. And when you hear that grinding sound when you press your brakes, that is actually not the brake pad making contact with the rotor anymore. That is this metal piece, and that is god-awful terrible for your rotors. You will get gouging like you see here. I am going to have to replace this rotor. There's no doubt about it. You know, the downside is they are a couple $100 a piece. So that's why you always want to make sure you get to your brakes before they get to your rotors when they are worn out that bad, because then you're just going to cost yourself more money. So we take our old ones and we throw them aside, and there's the other ones from before too. Okay, so we take our new ones, and for this style of drum, they have these clips and these shoes. These shoes have the contour that goes with the drum, so that's quite simple. And then we're going to place the bottom into the clip and then the top into the clip and push it until it makes contact with the rotor as such. Now we're going to do the same thing, but before I do, I'm going to take some of this lubricant contacts. This stuff is not necessarily a requirement, but it does help for brake pad noise in the future. And you just take a little bit and you just rub it around. Okay, and then we're going to take a little bit on our finger. If I can get some to come out. There we go. Okay, we got some on our finger. Now we're going to take our brake caliper, or not our, yes, our caliper. Okay, I'm going to set it up there gently. And basically all I'm going to do is put my finger around the edge of this caliper with this greasy goo. So this is going to help lubricate the caliper and prevent brake noise, squeakiness in the future that we all know that we don't like to hear. So there is one more important step too. You have to compress the caliper. So the way how we're going to do that is there's a fancy tool that they sell in the store. You can have that, sure, it's 10-15 bucks. Some people will put a C-clamp on one side and then put it on this side, or the bolt, and then slowly tighten it down. Some people who don't have a C-clamp, they have a pair of channel locks. You can very carefully grab it from one side and to the other, and squeeze very slowly, very, very slowly. Do not just ram on it. And that is compressing the caliper, as you can see, so it is no longer sticking out. And now we have our caliper compressed. I can install the brake pad shoe. So we're going to make sure that it goes with the contour of our drum, and it is going to go inside our clips just like it did on the other side. Click, just like that. Just let that goo off me. Alright, and then now we're going to take our caliper and we're going to place it right back on where we got it from. Now that the piston is compressed, it will slide on easy. If you do not compress your piston, it will not go on easy. And then so all we have to do is simply line it back up the way how it goes. Again, I'm doing this one-handed. It's exactly what I say. It's the easiest thing in the world. And then so these little bolts on top, make sure I get in the shot too. Sometimes you might have to compress them a little bit. I am going to have to set the camera down just to get this so it'll go in right, because I cannot do this one-handed. So hold on one second. So just like that. And you're just going to tap it on. And the bolt holes will line right up. Oh, that wasn't good. That was a good one, Dust. There we go. Alright, put that back on. I have to bend that clip back around. You have to be very careful not to disturb those clips. Those are important. Maybe I need to get a little bit more of a compression on my caliper here. Just a hair bit more. You can just see though how it makes a difference when you do compress this. And if you don't. Oh, I just fell off again. This is a contact plate point that has to be in place. You cannot have that not be in place, because that'll cause extreme amount of uneven pressure being distributed. Yep, getting brake dust all over the camera. Well, I promise you when I say this normally isn't this tough, it normally really isn't. So I do think I have a bad caliper, which means I'm not going to be able to take my car anywhere. But as you see, we're going to just line this back up. We're going to take our 2 bolts, one here and one there, tighten them in with a wrench and torque to specifications of your car's manufacturer's recommendations for the torque rating on the bolts for the calipers. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you learned and enjoyed the video, and hopefully I just saved you a couple $100 because it's actually a really simple thing to do. Maybe a little hard and nerve-wracking the first time you do it, but hey, you got 4 other tires or 3 other tires, so I mean, by the time you get to the other end, you'll be like, man, I'm such a pro, you know what I mean? So hit the thumbs up and like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a good day, everybody.